you guys. I'm really glad that several of you seem like you enjoyed my review of Jackson Pierce's Sweetly, so I thought I would do something a little different for this week's review. I recently read Everybody Sees the Ants by A.S. King. It has kind of a weird cover, but I picked it up just on a whim. I have actually had her Prince Honor Award book, Please Ignore Vera Dietz. Probably mispronounced that, but I'm terrible with names, so we've already moved past that in my last video. John Green, who I love, is probably my favorite young adult author, recommended it when it did not win the Prince last year, and I immediately purchased it, but I have never read it. So recently I've heard a lot of just really good chit-chat, just on blogs and on Twitter and just various places about Everybody Sees the Ants. So I picked it up on a whim because it's out in paperback now and new in paperback, and I thought, what the heck, I'll just read it. Picked it up. I needed just something light to put in my purse to read at an event that I went to. I don't even remember where I went. Like a cookout or a family birthday party or something where I was going to be doing things, but I didn't want to be super engaged, and it ended up being a book that I just flew through. The main character, Lucky Linderman, is a victim of bullying, and the plot line fluctuates between his freshman year and what I can only assume is the summer following that year. And there's a lot of back and forth between the two time periods, and you have to really pay attention. And there's also this entire subplot where the only place where Lucky feels like he has any kind of control is when he's dreaming about saving his grandfather from Vietnam. His grandfather is a prisoner of war, missing in action person who he's never actually even met. Lucky's never met his grandfather. He's just grown up with stories about him. So the book starts out with a question, essentially. Lucky's history class is asked to compile just like data, and he chooses to ask everyone if they were going to kill themselves, how they would do it. Which, of course, the current climate in schools, I can totally understand this. I work in a middle school myself. It's a really serious question to take and use as a joke, although it wasn't intended to be a serious thing for Lucky, and he really suffered a lot of consequences because of this. He became the victim of almost just consistent bullying and terrorization from one of the cool kids at school, who he had originally been friends with. And it all kind of culminates. There's a correlation between the school year where he's kind of more left alone because there are other people, and then in the summertime where he's almost just consistently terrorized by this guy who has been bullying him all year, whose name is Nader McMillan. That's such a great villain name, Nader McMillan. And the whole story is about how Lucky is just kind of overcoming his own personal demons and his own sense of helplessness. He has no control. His dad's very passive in a lot of ways, and his mom, who would be more of an aggressor, just really bows down to what his dad tells her to do. Not in a subservient kind of way, but Dad is convinced that if they ignore Nader, that the problem will go away. And I think that just because, he basically grew up on his own. His dad was gone his whole entire life almost as a Vietnam veteran who disappeared and was missing in action. Lucky's dad never really had any sort of fatherly figure, and I feel like he's just completely incapable of handling this situation. And he really wants good things, but Lucky makes a lot of different analogies, and he compares his dad to a turtle. He just wants to hide inside of his shell and believe that things are going to get better, and I think that's a really accurate description of what's going on. And in a lot of ways, Lucky's the only real person in the book. He tries to hide from his problems, and that doesn't work because he can't get away from Nader. Nader's there every single day, especially in the summer. And Nader is able to victimize, to just hurt him, either with words or with physical aspects of it. And even when there's a portion of the plot where, Lucky and his mom go to visit his mom's brother. And even then, he still can't really escape the impact that Nader's had on his life. So there's a huge period of time where you're in Lucky's dreams, and his rescue missions for his grandfather were the only place that he feels like control. And we get to take his journey of finding control in his personal life. We do that with him. And this is a really inspiring book. Like I said, I work in a middle school. I see victims of bullying every day. I see people bullying every day. And I even see people who bully their peers and bully their friends without ever even really understanding that their behavior is bullying behavior. They think it's okay to call their peers and even their friends, who the people they'll term their very best friends in the world, they think it's okay to treat them with disrespect, to call them names, to make fun of them for getting the wrong answer or wearing the wrong clothes or liking the wrong social activity. Bullying has really become a really major part of every single day. And if you have kids or you are a kid, I'm sure it's something that you experience. And whether you're willing to term it as bullying and say, yeah, I've been a victim of bullying, or whether you turn the other cheek and try to just make the problem go away, it's really easy to see what a huge issue this is for kids to face. And I think this book addresses it in a really realistic way. Lucky's not always innocent, necessarily. To say that his project caused a lot of personal issues for Nader, whose parents are bullies. And so bullying that had started on a low grade scale from the time Lucky was very, very young escalates quickly. That's not to say that it's okay for him to have been bullied or for him in any way as the victim to carry any of the blame. But it's even the way A.S. King writes this, like the whole time you're like, that Nader McMillan is such a jerk. I can't stand that dude. But you can also understand his point of view, I guess is what I'm trying to say, even though you know it's wrong. And Lucky is a very difficult character because there are times when you just want to be like, dude, stand up and do something about it. Like, when this is going on, make yourself seen and make yourself heard. But you also understand why he sits back and passively lets things happen. So, I just thought it was a book that the entire time I was reading it, I was completely caught up. And I was completely just intrigued and fascinated with the plot. And I wanted good things to happen. I wanted good things to happen to Lucky. And I wanted good things to happen to his parents. And I wanted him to gain the confidence that he needed to return to school as a sophomore and just stand up to this guy and say, it's not okay for this to happen. I wanted his parents to stand up for him. I wanted his dad to quit being a turtle and become someone who would say, this is not okay for you to do to my kid. And I wanted Lucky to be able to look at his dad and say, it's not okay for you to continuously let this happen to me. It's not okay for you to let this person hurt me every single day and pretend that the problem is just going to go away and it's going to get better. And I got a lot of what I wanted in a lot of different ways, and not in ways that I was expecting. So it was a book that kept me guessing, that kept me engaged, and that impressed me from the first page to the last page. I read it very quickly, but still wasn't able, I finished it days after starting it, because I wasn't able to leave the story alone. But I also had to think about it and ponder for a lot of time to see how I felt about the book as a whole. I told one of my friends, Katie, I gave it a 4 stars on Goodreads, but I feel like I need to reread this story to fully understand all of the subtext and all of the little things that were happening, and to truly appreciate all of the story. So, I feel like on my second read through that rating will increase exponentially. You can't go higher than 5 stars on Goodreads, but I feel like I probably will try to find a way to do that, at least in my personal rating system. So, if you guys like realistic fiction, if you're intrigued by bullying stories, or you need inspiration for how to deal with it on a parental level, or from the level of someone who's being bullied, I would totally recommend that you pick this book up. And I will leave title in the doobly-doo, as well as, again, links to my Goodreads account. So, I hope you guys enjoy it. If you've read it, let me know. If you're going to pick it up, let me know that too. Have a great evening. Bye.